Brad.
We are recording. Coach, we're going to kick things off with Tom.
Brad, since we haven't talked to you earlier this week, but the loss of Rasmus Alm, how does that affect the team? Obviously, it's a next man up mentality, but he also has some specific talents that he brings to the team.
Sure. I mean, it's a big blow for us, especially within our game idea, our game model. Thinking the way we can be sort of fluid in between the lines, but also getting in behind the lines. I think Rasmus brought a certain amount of depth to the game, which is unfortunate, right? So, but you look at these things with opportunities for other players to step up now, and Rasmus is such a crucial guy in and around the locker room. He's such a likable guy, not just on and off the field. So yeah, it's a big blow, but obviously now we all have to stick together and step up and make sure that we get him back as quick as possible.
And then with him and with Ostrak going out, how do you feel? How is the depth now at the midfield position?
Yeah, listen, I think where one opportunity now goes away from us with Rasmus, obviously with a roster player, with a person, right? So look at Jose Kajima stepping up now, right? So Jose Kajima went to City 2, played the role in the 10 for Bobby, and did a great job. So we look at that, reflect back on that, and that creates a new option, another option, obviously considering some City 2 guys potentially along the way that might help out here if we struggle, to find any solutions, just to create some depth on the bench and to create some added incentive for some of the guys, pushing and knocking on the door from City 2. So yeah, there's options open.
Next, we'll go to Matt Baker.
Coach, thinking about the top of those depth charts, did you see what you wanted to see out of that attacking midfield of Salio, Kajima, and Indiana Vasilev that gives you confidence that could be the next lineup up, so to speak?
Yeah, I think when you score 3 goals and create the amount of chances we did, I saw a lot of good things against a very good counter-pressing Miami team with their full roster. So, to go away from home, score 3 goals, one of them from a set piece, yes, but the way we created chances, the way we gained momentum, the way we put pressure on that back line, gives me a lot of hope. We've been working pretty hard on exploiting space in transition, and that's our bread and butter. So yeah, we're excited with the progression of some of the guys. We're happy for some of the success that they've been now getting into. Indy getting back on the goal scoring sheets. Celio doing like what Celio loves to do, and wreak havoc on the opponent's back line with a dribble. So yeah, it was very encouraging. So that gives me hope for games coming up now.
And when it comes to the depth, you mentioned a bit ago, AZ Jackson was left off the match day roster last week. Was it simply a numbers game, or was there anything to Kajima over AZ?
Yeah, we just thought that that 20-man roster, we looked at it, we evaluated it. It almost worked to that game plan of being a goal up, and then making defensive plays towards the end of the game. So we decided a little bit more heavier stacked on the defensive side of it, and we thought that was the squad to take us through that game. So for the most part, I would say it worked.
Nothing else to read into with AZ being left off the roster?
Oh no, not at all. I mean, yeah, we always encourage AZ to put in the shift, put in the effort. He's put his head down. He's training hard. He's working hard. So yeah, we're just trying to urge AZ along his journey here as a player. But nothing to read into.
Next, we'll go to Santi.
Probably staying on Jose Kijima. I spoke to him a few weeks ago, and it was like the first time he had played as a number 10 for City 2. And he mentioned that that's a position he wanted to learn, and he spoke to Chris Duval from City 2 about it. Can you talk a little bit about that process for him, from going to learning the position at City 2 to getting minutes with the first team on that position?
Yeah, I wouldn't say totally exclusive to City 2. We used him in that position in preseason against the LAFC. You know, it was more the right 10 in the midfield, but we threw him out of his comfort zone, and he actually had an excellent game. So, you know, we've always kept that in the back pocket, and obviously when he got to do it in real game minutes, in a real league fixture, albeit at City 2, we saw some encouraging signs, especially against the ball. The intensity of his sprinting, the intensity of his actions, we really liked that, and it complemented Klaus really well. So, you know, we felt that was an added benefit. So that just gives another layer, right? There's other guys that are competing, working hard as ever. Nurkvi fighting for a spot, you know, fighting for minutes. So yeah, we have good competition now, even although we've lost Rasmus.
And thinking about Portland, at this point of the season, does it feel like these are now like 6 point games against direct rivals on the table, or is it too early to think about that?
Yeah, we spoke about it a few weeks ago that every game from now on is a final. You know, we don't want to lose too many points here, especially at home. And yeah, Portland have made big jumps, big advancements up the league table. You know, they're unbeaten in their last 3. They've had some impressive away results against Austin. And they're a formidable team if you let them get into their rhythm. So, you know, they're starting to click, they're starting to gel. Rodriguez, Moreno, Evander, Mora, like, you know, these guys, they have a very talented attacking group. So, you know, it's up to us. You know, they're not very possession based. They're very direct. You know, they'll get at you straight away. So, you know, we're going to have to make sure that we're ready to deal with these.
We'll go back to Tom.
So if Jose had not gotten that time at the 10 for City 2, would he not have been an option there last Saturday?
No, like I just said, in preseason, he played in the 10. So, you know, it's a position that, you know, Jose is one of those guys where you can float between, you know, we have Edu, Jobs, Chris Durkin. So sometimes the position 6 is a little bit overloaded. So we squeeze him into these positions in training even. So, you know, it's not totally foreign to him, and he's always willing to absorb and grow. And, you know, he absorbs information like a sponge, you know, it just keeps on attracting. He asks great questions. He's always willing to learn. So, you know, it challenges us as coaches to think about the right options. And when you see him put in a performance like that without overinflating it and making sure that we, you know, keep on progressing Jose in the right way, I think it's a good message for us, and it's a good indication that he is sort of reliable on certain positions.
And you just finished a run of 4 games in which you played 3 of the best teams in the league, LAFC, Cincinnati, Inter Miami, and you only get 1 point, but there are lessons learned, things that you can take out of those games against the league's best going forward?
Yeah, I think we look at the process, you know, I think, and I look at, you know, obviously there's wins and losses columns and points. I look at moments in the games, you know, that we give up or that we take advantage of, don't get rewarded, whether it's a penalty or whether it's, you know, Mark Hannick scores a goal against LAFC that could have been 2-0 up at halftime. You know, we outshoot Seattle 24 or something to 6 or 7 at home, and we totally dominate proceedings. You know, we give away one moment and Morris is in behind. So these are the things that we have to learn and grow by, and challenge each other every single day, which for me, we're not far off, right? You're leading Miami up until the 84th minute, and obviously they start to put pressure, and you know, when we don't take our chances, or you know, when we don't capitalize, then the energy and the tension grows and the pressure grows. Can we ride out these moments? And that's part of our learning process right now, and to learn against 3 of the best is awesome. You know, that has to make us better in some form or fashion, and the results will come next game, next week, the results will come in terms of our progression as a team.
We'll go back to Matt.
Coach, you're talking about Portland's style, how they're pretty direct. They're one of the higher teams as far as the difference in goals scored versus expected goals, non-penalty expected goals. So what does that tell you about how they score a lot of their goals when they seem to be overproducing?
Yeah, they're creative, but they're directional, you know. So Rodriguez is willing to run in behind. You know, you have Moreno who's deadly on a dribble. So you have Evander who can, you know, it's almost he's there Messi kind of. You know, he drifts away for the game. You don't see him for much, and then all of a sudden in the last 10 games, I don't know. I think it's 11 goal contributions. Not sure. He's had a ton of goal contributions, right? So, I mean, 7 goals, 8 assists in the last 14 games, 15 games, whatever they played. So, he's coming good, right? So he had a slow start to his season, or to his arrival, but you could see the player, whatever Portland staff saw in him, you see that player now, that he can be the difference maker. So it's quick combinations, it's quick transitions, it's vertical, it's direct. So yeah, we're gonna have to be on high alert for these moments in the game.
You mentioned he's kind of like their Messi. Do you feel he presents that same kind of, you have to make sure a man is on him at all times in the last 20, 25 yards type of player?
Yeah, I don't think we really man mark Messi. We sort of, our orientation is still the ball when we're defending, and that's no secret. But obviously, what are we doing? When those lines are broken, are we backing up? Are we stepping in? Are we connecting on the weak side? Are we jumping on the ball side? So there's a lot of moments for us to mitigate these things. But it takes a collective effort. It's not just one sole responsibility. It has to be a collective effort. It has to be two players. We believe in a 2v1 mentality. So, with the connection and over connection, and supporting roles from the front, from the back, from the side. So, and it's going to take a bit of everything to mitigate that.
We got time for one more question with Coach before we go to Tim Parker, if anyone has one.
Coach, one other question. Sorry, you mentioned City 2, Kojima. That's been a discussion. I'm curious if there's been any other players that you've looked to that may benefit from time with City 2, and just in general, have you ever asked a player to play down with City 2 and they didn't want to?
So first question, I mean, obviously there's guys, that are part of the first team roster, like Caden Glover, for example. Brendan McSorley, we know he puts in a ton of intensity with his pressing and sprinting and releasing, and from a defensive point of view. So, as we lose like Thomas and Rasmus, we think about these things, and then we reflect back and to see what's the best decision possible. Thinking about valuing the roster that we have, giving guys opportunities and minutes, as opposed to just throwing City 2 guys, into the mix. So we're open to these things. We want to value our roster for sure, but also want to grow within the club. And I think that's part of our success story that bring us all together. With some of the player movement up and down, I'm not a coach who's going to try and lead conversations into it. I can only recommend game minutes, but I know there are certain parameters that we can and cannot explore with regards to inviting players to play. So that's between the player, the agent, and the players' union. So there's an agreement there, of which we can't influence, but we can only influence and show value in that we appreciate and we can see the benefit of playing City 2 minutes when you're not getting regular game time, when you're coming back from an injury. So it's definitely valuable without taking, development away from the kids down at City 2. So, it's a fine balance. And for the most part, the guys have been great. I mean, Jake Nowinski goes down a week ago, plays City 2, shows true leadership, shows total buy-in to do what he needs to do for those 90 minutes, and had a very enjoyable time. It was great to him for him to get on the field for 90 minutes. So that's the benefit of having this parameter or these options, and it's up to the players if they feel value in that. Unfortunately, I can't stipulate or force. I think it's up to the individual if they would like to advance or proceed or develop within their careers.
Thank you.
Coach, thank you for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, JG. Thank you.
Hey, Brad.
See you.
See you
Thanks,
Saturday.
All right, guys, Tim Parker. Let's go with the dog and Daniel to start things off.
Hey Tim, I know we've seen some pretty exciting 3-3 games this season. I'm curious, this latest one against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league, are you more encouraged by the performance, or is it one of those where maybe it's a balanced frustration and excitement with how you guys played?
I think a little bit mixed. I think there's a side of me that is happy to go to Miami and to get a point, but at the same time, A big part of me is frustrated with giving up 3 goals and 3 leads. I think that's a bigger picture for me, and that's kind of what I addressed after the game was there's a lot of positives and a lot of things that we can take away from that game, but we still have to be able to find ways to win those games when we're up so many times.
And as a leader, I know you guys bring the intensity every week, but do you maybe use a game like that on the road against some of the best to maybe use this as a turning point for the season, especially with the schedule to come?
Yeah, for sure. I think if you look at our last couple of games, they're not against the easiest teams in the league by any means. A lot of those teams are in the top half. Probably the top 5 teams in the table. So for now, we have to kind of look forward and against teams that are still fighting for spots as are we. So it's kind of coming down to now how we can get results, especially here at home.
Next, we'll go to Santi.
Hi, Tim. So at this point of the season, we're almost halfway. Games against teams like Portland, who are just above City on the table. Does it feel like these games are now 6 points games, or is it still too early to think about that?
Yeah, I think anytime you play Western Conference teams at home, you always have to look at it like that. But for us, it's really just trying to create a rhythm, kind of like what we touched on. Like having a good performance in Miami was one thing, and now can we kind of continue on with it?
And the other thing, you as one of the leaders on the team, how satisfying it is to see a guy like Jose Kijima perform so well against a top team like Miami when he had to come as an emergency replacement when Rasmussen came out.
Yeah, really happy for him. I think Jose puts in a lot of work and he's willing to learn and he's willing to do the dirty work in order to kind of come onto the field and do what we need him to do. So I'm really happy that he came on and that he did well.
Next, we'll go to Tom Timmerman.
Tim, when you're talking about those games you guys had against the tough teams, LAFC, Cincinnati, Inter Miami, are there things that you can take away from games like that that are applicable to what you can do going forward here?
Yeah, I think we look at, at least from a defensive standpoint, the goals that we give up, we're not very happy with the goals we've been giving up lately. So I think it's just kind of putting a little bit more ownership on the goals that we give up and stop kind of brushing them off, because like you guys have mentioned, it's a little bit, we're through the learning stages of the season, I'd say by now. Now it's time to kind of buckle down, get points and gear towards making those runs in the summer that we really want to make. So I think for me, a big aspect of that is limiting the goals, limiting the chances, but realizing how we're giving up goals.
And then you lost in the span of like 9 days, Thomas Ostrak and then Rasmus Alm. How does that kind of jolt to the team, or how does that affect the team?
Yeah, it hurts. Tomas was obviously having a good season for us. We relied on him a lot in the beginning months and he did really well. And then with Raz, it's tough for Raz because, he comes back from an injury after last year and then picks up a knock this year that's going to knock him out for a little bit of time. So it gives opportunity for sure. I think that's the first and foremost thing, is that it gives opportunity to guys that are waiting to play and hopefully they're able to grab it. I think that's the most rewarding thing as a player, when you're able to see someone take advantage of an opportunity.
Next, we'll go to Matt Baker.
Tim, how was guarding Messi?
It was good. It's hard to explain. It's kind of like playing against, in the moment you're playing against just another player. I tried to treat it as just another game and not try to see it as this big spectacle. But afterwards it's cool to reflect back on, but in the moment it's something else.
Do you see a player like Evander for Portland as similar in what he can provide to Portland, like what Messi can do? And is guarding Evander, do you feel that may be similar to Messi?
In a nice way, in respect to Evander, no. I think that's kind of the magic Messi has, is that he's able to win a game for a team in all 90 minutes, and you have to be able to be turned on, and that team knows that if they're within one goal, that Messi's able to get them back in. And I think Evander's done really well for Portland, and I think that he has that kind of star power for them. I just don't know if he's at Messi's level. I would say he's just, he's a big player for them, so we just have to obviously keep eyes on him as well.
We'll go back to Daniel.
Hey Tim, I'm just curious. When it comes to a new transfer, how do you guys hear about it? Is it social media? Do you guys have a meeting? And specifically with the most recent signing, how eager are you to kind of take a young defender into a new league and kind of take him under your wing?
Yeah, we probably hear about it from you guys before we hear about it here. Um, I don't even, it's just something that happens that way. I feel like the way social media has been. But yeah, I think it's a good opportunity, for guys, like I said, for guys to come in here, and have opportunities to come in and play.
Tom, Matt, Santi? Any more questions for Tim?
Tim, how rough just was that month of May, including a June 1 game with Miami, with all those teams?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough part of our schedule for sure. With the midweek games, with the competition that we had to face. Looking back on it, I think there was still points to be had, and like I've mentioned, I'm not too happy with the goals we've given up lately, but it's something that we really have to stress moving forward.
All good? Tim, thank you for
Good.
joining us. Appreciate your time.
No problem.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for making the trip.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, Tim.